What's happening, guys? Today we have a little bit of a different session. This is going to look a little different in terms of content and quality, but we're going to be covering PPC, and we're specifically going to do this with Sellozo. I'm going to have Kris from Sellozo in an interview today, and we're going to be covering what Sellozo can do for you. A lot of you have been asking about PPC services, how to optimize, whether you should use an expert or not, and this video should help you establish if that's something you want to do. We're going to be covering Sellozo and what they offer in terms of you using their tool suite by yourself or having Sellozo experts actually work on your campaigns for you. So there's two different levels there, and we'll be covering the costs of each. And this isn't only about the Sellozo tool. I'm also asking Kris, because he's obviously very involved with seeing all different sellers' PPC campaigns. I'm asking him questions like, what are the biggest mistakes sellers make with PPC, and how do you actually rectify those? Do you pause or delete campaigns when you're done with them? How many keywords should you include in certain campaigns? So all that type of thing is also included here. So I think whether you want to know more about PPC or you want to know more about services that can help you with PPC, I think you're going to find this valuable. So let's jump in. Welcome to the channel, Kris. Really stoked to have you here. I know we've met a couple times, but I've been wanting to share you with the audience. And for those who don't know, Kris is part of the Sellozo team. They specialize in helping sellers specifically with Amazon PPC. And I remember I had a meeting with you and one of your colleagues.
Yeah.
And I have never met people so enthusiastic and pumped about PPC. So very happy to have you on. I think a lot of people are going to learn a lot from you as well. But if you want to start off, Kris, just by introducing yourself and Sellozo, what you guys do for people, and just a bit of background, and then we'll jump into some more specific questions I think sellers are going to want to know about.
My name is Kris Gramlich. I'm an account exec with Sellozo. And what we do is basically just help sellers understand their Amazon advertising. And we help with automating that, meaning that the tool is going to go in, has the option of going into your campaigns and optimizing those campaigns based off of a target ACoS that a seller sets. And then we do all the heavy lifting for you. We, as the software does. But yeah, we're a team of former sellers or current sellers, and we just like to really help sellers with their PPC because, Dan, selling on Amazon is kind of a lonely journey, and having somebody like to bounce ideas off of or work with is super helpful. So that's kind of what we do, and we just enjoy really making sure sellers are understanding what they're doing with their ads.
And then when a seller comes to you, where is a seller when they come to you?
Yeah.
At what stage? Like, do you find a lot of sellers coming to you at launch? Do you find a lot of sellers coming to you once they're looking to really optimize the campaigns? Where are they at when they approach you?
Yeah, it's a mixture. It's such a mixture because we do get a lot of new sellers, and we also get established sellers, people who are ready to take their campaigns to the next level. On the new seller side, we do an onboarding call with all sellers. So you can go to the site and just do an onboarding call with myself and another team member, where we just kind of like talk to you about Amazon and kind of learn your business. And if you're not there yet, we'll just tell you, hey, you're not there yet. But we'll give you some good tips on like how to get there, meaning like set up your campaigns the right way. Maybe you need to get your titles better on your products, or maybe you need better images. So we'll look at your listings first, because if your listings aren't optimized, meaning poor photos, poor images, or poor titles, poor bullet points, no reviews, we don't want you to waste your time with Sellozo and try to get that set up, because it's not going to be a good fit. It's not going to work out well. So it's important that your listings are ready, and then we'll help you with your ads going forward. But yeah, we do both. We get new sellers all the time that want like help getting started. We'll guide them that way. And then we get established sellers that are like, here's my listings, and they're ready to take it to the next level. They're ready to scale. And that's where we jump in to help them out.
Yeah, I totally agree with that as well, in terms of even just as a seller, like you want everything fully desirable before you make it visible. Because, if you have a shoddy listing and you spend all this time, money pushing it to the front of results, you're pushing something which isn't that desirable to the front. So it has to be the other way around. And that's awesome that you also help with the images, like you help with not just the PPC side. It's a
Yeah.
cohesive thing, or a comprehensive thing that you look at. And then you spoke of ACoS or ACoS. I think a lot of sellers are going to be wondering, because that's what I would want to come to you for, is like, how low can you get my ACoS? What is the average? And I know that's a hard question, but what's the average ACoS reduction you see or achieve for sellers? And then also, what's like the biggest one? What's the largest ACoS reduction that you've
Yeah.
achieved for a seller?
That's a great, tricky question because we get that a lot. It's like, hey, I want to lower my ACoS. Well, sometimes a low ACoS isn't necessarily a good thing. Like you may be leaving money on the table. Like if you're not maximizing your campaigns, there's probably sales you're just leaving out there. So that the word ACoS and low ACoS and like the terminology, I need a low ACoS, I think that's misunderstood because people think that they need to get like a 10% ACoS or they need to have a 20% ACoS. My personal opinion is to get a break-even ACoS. So if I get if I'm making 40% margins on my product, I'm shooting for 40% or even maybe even like a 10% higher than that for my target because I want to maximize my campaigns. I want to make sure my bids are going to be as high as they can be. I want to generate as much sales as I can because I know when I get sales through my ads, I'm going to get my organic ranking up more. I'm going to start to rank better for all my keywords. So we have reduced a lot of like really high ACoSs. The highest one that comes to my mind is 70%. That was a big reduction, but that was as simple as doing negative keywords, cutting out some search terms that were just unprofitable, and then doing some really good bid management. So that was an easy victory there because the seller was never really optimizing their campaigns. But we've scaled a lot of campaigns higher because sellers are starting to understand that a 10 or 20% ACoS, yeah, it sounds great, but you have more room there to kind of generate more sales. So that's where we do this onboarding call. Like we'll look at those campaigns and we'll look at the listing and say, well, like what's your break even margin? And a lot of people don't really realize what that is. They don't know what they're going after. So that's a tool, like that's where we say, what's your break even margin? Okay, I make 40% on this product. Let's set your target ACoS at 40% to maximize all the sales within that campaign. If you are in like a subscribe and save product or you're like in a repeat purchase product, I would go higher than that 40% because you're trying to get people to subscribe to your product. And that's going to ultimately lower your ACoS in the long run, but you're going to get more subscriptions. So you're paying faster for subscriptions. If you're on page one already for your keywords and you've kind of already achieved that ranking, then yeah, we can lower that target down to more profitable ACoS. So to answer your question, it's long-winded. Like it just really depends on where you're at in the product cycle. Are you launching? If you're launching, let's go high. Let's go to the moon. If you're already at ranking, let's bring it back down a little bit. So that's why, again, we do an onboarding call with every client because every client's in a different stage and they all have different goals. And we got to make sure we understand those goals so that you understand how Sellozo is going to work to get you to that goal.
And I agree with that as well, especially in the beginning. I've spoken about that a lot. Like any sale for your product is going to raise the organic ranking, and that's what you need. And in the beginning, the one you can control is the sponsored listing, the one you're talking about, the PPC one. That's the one you can put at top of the front page. And that's what you want to try do, even if it's a high ACoS in the beginning, because you need to get that organic listing up. And another thing you bring up, which I think is important, is people sometimes think ACoS is kind of account wide. Like if my ACoS is that, then it's eating up all my profit. But ACoS has to do only with sales through ads. So you also have to remember that your sales on your organic listing, not your sponsored listing, the ones on your organic listing are going to still be full profit. So it's not like, even if you're making a loss on the sales through ads, it's not a loss overall because you're raising this organic listing, which is full profit sales. So I think that's really important that people understand that distinction. And
Mm-hmm.
in terms of Sellozo, you spoke of the experts working. And what if I'm a seller who doesn't want the expert help, but I want extra tools? I want to be able to see what's happening in my business in a more, tabulated or graphical form. Is there a way I can use your tools without experts? Are there kind of two options there? And what are those?
Yeah, yeah, there is. So we do get a mixture. Some sellers want just managed support and they want somebody to take it over and run with it. Some sellers are savvy enough, they understand how this PPC works and they kind of want to still control it. So you can do both. So you can, when you sign up for Sellozo or try Sellozo out, it'll give you the option if you just want to do ad automation and self-manage, which means you're the one doing it. Or there's another option where you could do ad automation and ad expert support. That's where you're going to get assigned a rep. Somebody's going to be assigned your account. They're going to call you and we're going to do another call with you. So there's a lot of touch points at the beginning. And that's just because we want to learn your business, learn your goals, because we want to set it up the right way the first time. So you could do both. Yeah, you could do managed if you feel like you need somebody to kind of take it over. Some people do managed first because they want to get the right foundation set up at the very beginning. And then they just downgrade at the end and just bring it back in-house and they do it themselves. That is super common, where people were like, hey, I don't have the time to learn all these ad strategies. I want somebody who already does it. Do it for me first. And then after I figure this all out and learn it, I'll just get rid of the expert support and just manage it myself and downgrade my subscription. That's totally fine. That happens a lot. So there's options. You can do both of them.
Okay, and could you share what that dashboard looks like or what the tools
Yeah.
look like if you have that?
So this is like what the dashboard looks like. We're going to track your sales, cost. There's an option in here where you can put your cost of goods and we'll track your profits, margin, and then total ACoS. So this refers to what you were talking about earlier about like you got your PPC ACoS and then you got total ACoS. We're going to track your total ACoS. So that's going to bring in your organic sales. And then we also separate that over here on the right side, PPC sales and organic sales. So you can kind of track where that money is being spent and how your ranking is going.
And just to jump in there, and just so people know exactly what that total ACoS is, because that's so important, that is your ad spend as a percentage of all your revenue. So out of like everything you're making in sales, how much are you spending on PPC ads? You can see that one's a lot lower than like,
Yeah.
so that's a really good total ACoS. But even if you have that at like under 10%, that's usually very good. That's usually healthy, like 6, 7%. And that is what's ultimately going to come off your profit margin. So if your profit margin were 40% on your product, if out of your revenue, your total profit is 40%, you can deduct that total ACoS from that, and then you would have your net per se. You'd have your ultimate profitability.
And this is a metric that I love just to keep track of, especially for those that I keep talking about, like subscribe and save or like repeat purchases. This is a metric I love because you want to maximize this because you're trying to get a lot of subscriptions or repeat purchases. If your product is something that is constantly reordered, you're acquiring that customer at the very beginning, and then you just constantly get subscriptions. So keep track of that. But we do track like FBA fees, commissions, shipping. This is your cost of goods. So if you wanted to put your cost of goods in here, you can. It's not necessary. You don't need to do that. But if you want to use this tool as a way to like track your profits on your products, you can just download a template and just upload it back inside here. And then we'll track each product and see how profitable it is. I want to kind of scroll down to some other things real quick. and we can get back to some questions. But this is like the ad automation highlights. So over the last 30 days, up here at the top, it's the last 30 days, Sellozo has automatically created 10 new campaigns for the seller. It's done over 40,000 bid adjustments. It's found almost 1,700 new keywords, and it's negated 128. This is all automatically. We track this everywhere in your own activity log. If you can see over here on the left, there's an activity log. We're going to track all these changes. But this is kind of give you a high level, so you can just log in here, maybe every other day, and kind of see, okay, I've had these happen. This is what's happening for my bid adjustments, my new keywords, and my negative keywords. Now, you don't have to use the automation. It's optional. Like, we're not going to start automating your campaigns immediately. When you sign up for Sellozo, we're just starting the import data, and then you can pick and choose which campaigns you want us to automate. And we go over that again on your onboarding call. But it's not like some people get concerned that, oh, we're going to start automating the campaigns immediately. It doesn't work that way. It's just a simple import. And then from there, we'll do an onboarding call and kind of show you which campaigns that you want to automate. You can pick and choose. So just be concerned. Don't be concerned about that. And then stock. So we do track your stock. So this seller has 625 products currently in stock. We track the dollar amounts. These are the stock levels, and then how long the product is going to currently last until it runs out of stock. So he's got about 238 products that are going to sell out within less than a month, 100 that are going to currently last 1 to 2 months, 3 to 6, and then greater than 6 months. So we do track your stock levels. And then this is one of my favorite parts. This is a live order map. This map shows you where all your orders are coming from. So it's kind of nice to see where your people are placing their orders. But for anybody who's doing like external traffic to your listing, like via Facebook ads, sellers are using this as a way to like geo-target those Facebook ads based off of the data they're finding in their Sellozo account. So this is a cool little map. Yeah, this is a really, and it kind of gets a little creepy here. Like you can really zoom in. Like, like I mean, I can, yeah, I can get really close, like almost to the intersection. But it's kind of nice to see where your orders are being placed. And then if I wanted to focus just on the East Coast right here, I could throw an ad up on Facebook and say, okay, according to Sellozo, all my orders are coming from this region. I could use that to target, but that's really neat. And then over here on the right, this is a live order stream. So this is going to show all the orders coming in. Some people, we added a feature where it'll play like a sound. So like a cash register. So if you want to like leave your screen up and every time you get an order, your computer will make a cash register sound that you got a new order. So some people like that. I turned it off for just the purpose of this, because this guy is obviously, he's doing 1.7 in a month. We would be sitting here all day just ding, 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 ding. So no, we don't want that. So this is the dashboard. It's kind of nice. It's kind of neat to see all the orders. It does it all over the area. It tracks all your orders. And then this is kind of where you can see your profitability. So the next section is called Product View. Product View takes all your SKUs, all your seller SKUs, everything that you're selling. It takes all those in here and it dissects them. So this is one product, and this is all the data for this product. Everything from your revenue to your cost and your fees to your PPC performance for this product, for your inventory. It's tracking the buy box over here. We're going to see how the buy box is performing. There's going to be a ranking in that category. So this is currently 208, number 208 in blasters and foam play. There is a repricer in here. So if you do want to use a repricer, it's already included. But this is one product, and this is all the stats for it. And then on the right, we're tracking your PPC ACoS for that product, and then your total ACoS for that product. So we separate that out. Now this seller obviously hasn't put his cost of goods in here, but we will track how much you make per unit, and then what your margin is after all these fees are taken out right here at the right. So it's sorted by your best seller. So as I scroll through, every product is going to be different. But these are all your SKUs, and then this really gives you like really good data for this product that you can kind of know. If I need to replenish inventory, I can see that. What are my units sold over the last 30 days. Here's my sales velocity. So he sells about 10 per day, but everything has its own set. So I'm a big fan of this one, especially for new sellers. You can really learn a lot about your product here. And if it's something that maybe you liquidate because it's not profitable, you can find that information out here. Or if it's something you need to reorder because it's flying off the shelves, you can figure out that here. But this is one of my favorite sections.
Can you give us an overview of how much would this cost at the level of just getting the tools, which you just showcased, and at the level of actually having an expert come on and help?
Our pricing is based off of just the number of products that you choose to optimize inside the app. Our opening price points are $149 a month, and that's a flat rate, right? We're not adding percentages, we're not adding like hidden fees. It's just a flat rate monthly fee of $149 a month. If you choose to add the managed support to your account, it's an additional $499 a month on top of that $149. And then we do ask for a 3-month commitment for that managed support. The reason being is somebody's going to be assigned your account. They're going to need to learn your product. They're going to need to learn your search terms. They're going to set up campaigns for you. They're going to have weekly calls with you. So there's some time there that they need. After the 3 months, like I mentioned earlier, if you feel good, you got it all figured out, you got it in-house, you can just get rid of that. So openings are at $149 a month. We do have a 2-week free trial. So if you go to Sellozo.com, it'll ask you to book a demo first. That'll be either with myself or another team member. We'll do a demo with you a little bit more in depth. And then we'll follow up with you, add a free trial to your account, and then you'll do another onboarding call with myself or another team member with your data, and we'll go through it all and get you set up the right way. But yeah, $149 is the opening price, no percentages, no contract, just a flat rate monthly fee.
And remember, if you guys do use the link in the description below, you'll get 20% off the first month as well. If you're interested in this, if this is something you need help with. One thing I can tell you is, Kris, there is no one more enthusiastic and pumped about PPC than Kris and his team. I will never
appreciate
forget that meeting. Yeah. Could you give us an example of when a seller would come and ask you for those experts to work on the campaigns, and what specifically would that expert do? Like, what are their first, briefly, what are the steps they're going to take? What are they going to look for? And what are the first adjustments they're going to make?
Yeah, that's a great question, because there's so many different avenues with PPC. Like, you can do different strategies here and there. And some people are in different stages. They're either, trying to be profitable with their ads. They're trying to launch using ads. So the first call is all about learning where you're at and what your goal is. So are you in launch phase? Are you trying to launch a product? Are you already profitable and you're trying to make your ads more within your ACoS goals? It's all about learning where you're at. If you're in a launch phase, then what that's going to entail is we're going to launch a bunch of campaigns. We're going to get your target ACoS figured out. We may even add a little bit of a top of search multiplier to some of those campaigns so that we make sure your keywords are going to show up at the top of search. We're going to have weekly calls with you to go over the past data that we just set up for you. And then if there's any changes, let's say, because you and I both know there's always changes within Amazon. One day your product is selling really well and the next day it's down. So if there's any changes, that's where on those weekly calls, like, hey, this product is no longer listed, or we need to really scale up this product, sales have went down. Those are all things that we just pivot and just start a new process and get you going and try to bring back those sales for product, or just move on to the next and figure out what's happening with those other listings. So yeah, it's all about learning your goal, learning your budgets, and then setting up campaigns the right way.
And then what would you say is the most common mistake you see when a seller comes to you, or, when those experts go in and take a look? What's the most common problem you see? Just so those watching can take cognizance of that and maybe even start adjusting that now, work on that themselves now, or see if actually they do need help with that. But what's the most common problem or misunderstanding that you see sellers making with PPC?
Not enough testing. Not enough testing is like the big problem. They'll just have one auto and one manual running for one product. And they'll do one match type, and it'll be an exact match. And I'm a big fan of like testing them all out. This is a testing game. Like you got to test PPC. It's not just just do one auto and then one manual exact and call it a day for that product. Like some products we would recommend having like 12 to maybe even 20 different campaigns for just one product. So that's the biggest problem. It's not enough testing. And then when we do that onboarding call with them, this is stuff we cover. They're like, I only have $50 a day to spend. But if that's the case, then we're going to focus solely on like their 5 or 10 keywords that they really want to rank for and put all that budget towards those keywords because that's where they're at with their budget. Some sellers may like, hey, I can spend more. Like, okay, well, let's go with different match types. Let's do some product targeting. Let's do some sponsored brand ads. Like that's the biggest problem is not enough testing and a thought process of just do an auto and just do a manual. I'm a big fan of trying other match types, sponsor brand, sponsor display, all those. So that's the biggest problem is a lot of sellers get stuck up on just doing, 2 campaigns, an auto and a manual, or they don't do enough keyword testing, different match types.
And what campaigns would you recommend in the beginning? Like say someone watching this now is about to launch a product. What campaigns would you recommend? I know it does differ between products, but what would you recommend in general for a seller to run right in the beginning at launch? And then even, once they've done the launch, what campaigns would you adjust to in the more optimized level? So which campaign types through that product life cycle?
Yep. So if I'm launching a new product, I'm doing single keyword campaigns with my like top 5 to 10 keywords that I'm targeting, an exact match type with a like 25 to 35% multiplier on top of the suggested bid that Amazon gives me for that keyword. The reason I'm putting them in a single keyword campaign is I want all my budget to get thrown at that single keyword so that Amazon sees that, hey, he's willing to spend money on this keyword and I want to keep ranking for that keyword and improve my ranking. I want all my budget to be thrown at that single keyword.
To be clear on that, you're saying you're creating, let's say, an exact match campaign and you're putting a single keyword in there and you're only running that campaign for that. It has one targeted keyword in it.
Correct.
And then you're doing that 5 times.
Correct.
For your 5 top keywords.
Correct.
And you would bid 25% above Amazon's suggested bid.
Yep. So when it asks for my bid, I just use the suggested. And then in the placements, I add a multiplier to that, like a 25%, and just let that, multiply that bid. And then inside Sellozo, what I would do is set my target ACoS higher than my break even because I want my bids to constantly move up so I can get that top of search. And I may only do this for like 2 to 3 weeks to kind of keep my ranking and kind of track that. In the background, what I'm doing is I'm having my main phrase. Let's say I'm selling a dog brush. I'm putting my dog brush in a broad match campaign, or maybe even a phrase match. You could do both. And that one's going to like mine new search terms. It's going to be like my mining campaign. It's going to find me new search terms. And then I'm going to let that run for like 2 to 3 weeks. And then I'll go look at my search term report. And this can all be done in Sellozo. I'm going to be looking at my search term report, and any keyword that I get over 2 conversions, I'm taking that out and I'm adding it again to a single keyword campaign by itself. And I'm making it a negative in my broad. So my broad continues to find more. So I have a little bit of both. I got like my mining campaign going as a broad and phrase match. And then I got my 5 keywords that I know I want to target in exact match, all single keywords.
And then what about in this mining campaign? Do you also consider clicks? Because obviously getting a conversion, especially if it's a brand new listing with low reviews, getting that conversion's hard. But I agree with you, if it converts, that's like, this is definitely a keyword we need to focus on. But what about clicks? Because that obviously shows like interest. Do you consider that, or do you only wait for the conversion?
Great question. I do look at clicks, but I'm looking at what is getting clicks and no sales. And then I'll make that a negative exact in that broad, so I stop spending on it. If I'm getting clicks on relative keywords that I know I should show up for and I know I should sell on, if I'm getting clicks and I'm getting no sales, well, I got a listing problem. I need to go look at my listing and see why somebody is not buying my product when they type in that search term. Because if it's relative to the product and if I've done my listing right, I should be getting sales. But if I'm getting clicks and no sales, either it's a wrong phrase altogether, or I got a listing problem somewhere and I need to either fix an image or fix a title or fix a bullet point somewhere.
What I find, or how I think only for the keywords you should be converting on, because I agree with you, sometimes the keyword's irrelevant, and in that case you want to put it negative, exact
Yep.
match or negative match, so you're not wasting money on it. But in some cases, this is my keyword, like this, we should be converting for this. But at launch, sometimes I feel like because we have lower reviews, that's why we're getting the click because they're interested, but we're not getting the conversion. So sometimes what I would do, and what I would probably do with your strategy with the single keywords, is I would move the ones I'm sure are perfectly relevant with a lot of clicks. I would probably move those to exact, even if I don't go aggressive on them. I'm probably going to move them because I feel when I do have reviews, I'm going to convert on those.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is a lot we can gather from clicks as well. But it's interesting. I'm really interested in the single keyword campaign strategy and testing that more, because I know Amazon has these little quirks. And it brings me to my next question for you is, when you do pause or stop a campaign, let's say you don't want to be running a campaign anymore, do you choose to pause them or delete them? Because there's a lot of rumors on, if you delete it, you're going to lose some of that keyword ranking and indexing you've gained from it. So some people choose to pause it. Do you have like an opinion on that, or what's your play on that?
Yeah, I've always paused because I want to like make sure it stays in my account. And if I do want to bring it back, like maybe if I'm running a product targeting ad for 2 weeks and the ACoS is too high, maybe something wrong with the listing, so I would pause it because I maybe want to bring it back, because there's a belief out there that there's history within that campaign, that Amazon has got history for it. So when you do bring it back, you probably can gain back that whatever ranking you had for that campaign faster than you would with the new campaign, because there's no history with it. So personally, I pause them, and then inside, I keep talking about Sellozo, but inside Sellozo, I make a filter that says show me only active campaigns. And then now I can only see my active campaigns. And then I make another filter that says show me paused campaigns. So that maybe if there is a paused campaign that had good sales at one point, I can test it again by just re-enabling it and let it run for a few more weeks and see if it's profitable. But to answer your question, I pause them because there could be a chance that I may want to bring it back again and test it, further.
And then with these campaigns, there's two pools of people. There's one who, they believe as many keywords as possible, get all of them, put them all in the campaigns. Then we can, the more keywords, the better performance. And then there's other sellers, I tend to sway to this side, where it's really specific. I'm only looking for like my best performers, but I'll spend a lot on them. So what's your opinion on that? Like, I know you're doing the single keyword campaign, so that's obviously one, but
Yeah.
in terms of like your broad campaign, how many keywords would you put in there?
Yeah, I'm not putting more than like 25 or so. Like that's probably pushing it, really. The reason being is your budget, you want to give, one search term could take over all your budget. I mean, you may never get a chance to test those other keywords. So when you're doing your keyword research, if you do want to put a lot of keywords in a campaign, then I would suggest separating them out by search volume. So if you're going to focus on like your top keywords, don't put those in another campaign with your long tail keywords, because that one's going to take all the budget. So I label mine like BSR between 100 and 1,000, and I only put search terms in there, or in that campaign, and then that way they're not eating my other ones. So if you do want to put a lot of keywords in a campaign, separate them out by search volume, making sure that they're going to be within that same range. If you don't know the search volume, or you just want to test out some, just put, maybe max 25, and that's still kind of high for me, but that would be the max I would go.
I totally agree. I think you can't manage it. It's too much. It's overwhelming. I think it creates a lot of problems and confusion that doesn't have to be there. So totally agree. Also, like, how many ways do you search for a product? Like, let's be real. I understand there's some long tails typed in like once every 2 months, but that's not what you want to focus on. When people search for things, they generally use certain terms. And remember, on Amazon, and we all do this, when you start typing something in, they suggest, and you're like, yes, that thing. So that even limits how people search. So there's very specific terms with the majority of traffic, and that's where you want to focus. So I'm glad we have a similar approach on that. In terms of the campaigns and how often they run, do you have a goal for how much of the day that campaign should run for? Like, should it run the whole day or 70% of the day? And if for a limited part of the day, do you prefer earlier or later in the day? And what are your thoughts on that?
Great question. Obviously, Amazon starts the bid auction at the beginning of the day, and they run all day. So whoever has the highest bid is going to show up. And if they have the budget, their campaign could potentially be visible all day. What I've been testing and what Sellozo has incorporated is a feature called day parting, where you can actually control the times of day your ad is being displayed on Amazon just by dragging and dropping certain times a day that you want your ad to show up. So for example, we worked with a mattress company. They sell mattresses, and those are big ticket items. But from what they have seen, a lot of their orders come at night when people are laying in their bed or on their phone, like, gosh, I got to get a new mattress.
They can't sleep. Their mattress.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this mattress is terrible. So they're on their phone, like looking for a mattress on Amazon. So what this company has done is they use our day parting feature, and they pause their campaigns from like, I don't know, 2 a.m. to like 6 p.m. Like they don't turn them on during that time. And then they allow all their budget to be focused solely on that nighttime when people are going to bed or thinking about, they're in their beds and need a mattress, because they have seen that they get a lot of their orders at night. So that's a feature we have, is day parting. It's only going to get better. We've been doing some tune up to it, but it's only going to get better. And that's where you can set it up, and each campaign, we will automatically pause it and then re-enable it for you based on the times you select. And I've been testing it out. I've been saving my budget. I've been turning my campaigns off at midnight, and I don't turn them on again until 8 a.m. So there's 8 hours there where I'm not showing up on any ads, but I'm saving my budget for later in the day, when, in my opinion, conversion rates are going to be a little bit higher than they are in the early evenings. So yeah, that's a feature that we have, and I'm a big fan of it.
Awesome. And then we didn't really specify this, but in terms of once optimized, once you've launched, you've got data, you know which keywords are good, perhaps you've done your single exact match keyword campaigns. At that point, of optimized running, what campaign type do you generally run? And are you still running like little test campaigns, or is it generally moving to one campaign type, and what is that?
Yeah, I'm generally focused on those top 5 keywords that I want to continue to rank for. Because if I've done my keyword research right, and I know what I need to focus on, I want to make sure my budget is focused on those. So I will continue to run exact match, single keyword campaigns, just because I know I want to continue to rank for those. I'll have in the background, like, again, that mining campaign kind of playing around with. I'll do some product targeting where I'm targeting my competitors. I'll put my brand name in its own campaign. I'll target specific competitor brand names in a separate campaign. So there's a lot of different match types I'm going with, but my main focus is definitely going to be on those single keyword exact campaigns, because I want to continue to rank for those. Because if I don't, somebody else is.
Sure. And you mentioned, ranking for a competitor's brand name. And I think this is something people also need to be a bit careful of. But, often you want to have the keyword on your listing so that it will populate as a PPC ad. So if it's on your listing in your campaign, usually that campaign will run just fine. So when you do that, my question is, are you putting that competitor's brand name on your listing? And if so, where?
This is kind of a touchy subject for some, but I'm not putting it in my listing anywhere because I don't want any type of red flag. Like, I don't want to get any type of issue with Amazon. I'm going to bid on it in a campaign because you can do that, but just be prepared. Those bids and those brands, they know everybody else is doing this. So they're going to be bidding just as high or maybe even higher. You may get a high ACoS, like they're going to be pretty expensive for ACoS wise, but I'm trying to steal a little bit of sales away, trying to like get some sales away. And if I'm in a reorder product, if you get one or two of those can add up long term. But yeah, I'm not adding those to my listing just because I don't want any issue with that. I don't want to get an email in the middle of the night saying my listing was suppressed and my sales tank. I'm only going to focus on them in my ads. Now, some people may do this, kudos to them, but I'm not going to play that game.
Don't do it. I love your answer to this. I would really avoid that. Don't put the competitor brand names on, not even in the search terms in the back end of your listing in the keywords area. Just don't add it. It's not worth it. And then, Kris, are there any campaign types you just outright avoid, and why?
Sponsored display. That has been a targeting type that has I haven't seen any good metrics yet. Now, I only have access to the sponsored display with the views option. There's other options you can get, like purchases or traffic, I believe is one of them, where people who purchased your item, you can retarget those. I haven't tested that out yet, but I've heard that's really good. But the views one, I have never got to work. So sponsored display, I'll keep it running, but I'm not like optimizing it and trying to be aggressive with it. I'm only doing it so to give you my strategy there, I'm only doing a sponsored display ad for one product, and I'm only putting my bid at a quarter, 25 cents. And I'm not touching it. I'm not adjusting bids at all. I've tested it out. I've raised bids, and it just drains money. So that is a campaign type. Starting out, I would avoid because it hasn't proven anything to me yet. I haven't seen any good data.
And Kris, is that the same as what used to be called headline search ads?
That's a great question. The sponsored display is a feature that shows off of Amazon. So it's like if somebody goes to an Amazon, like ESPN, so they go to ESPN.com, your product would show up on ESPN. The headline search is sponsored brand ads. I love those sponsored brand ads, and especially sponsored brand video ads. If you have access to video in your brand registry, video ads are fantastic, and that's something that Sellozo can automate as well. But the ones I'm more concerned about are the ones that are off of Amazon, and they're displaying your product on like other websites. I haven't had any luck.
Yeah, I agree. The video ads, I think that's huge. Like I saw
Yeah.
them running on, the front page of some keywords, and it stands out a lot. So if you do have video, if you brand registered, add that video to your listing. That can go in the last picture spot and use those the video ads as well. Once you're optimized, once the seller, let's say some of those watching now are really trying to optimize their campaigns, they're on their way of reducing ACoS, things like that they want to now get under control. What would you say is a good, healthy ACoS to have?
Yeah, this is my opinion, but it's your break-even margin. this is where, if you're if you're making 40% on it, you're good. Like I would shoot for 40%. The reason being is you're going to help your product rank over time for all your keywords. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. If you're focused on reducing your ACoS, yeah, you can do that, but you're going to see your sales drop too. Your sales may drop. So I always go after, and I always suggest going after your break-even profit margin for that product. If you have different products with different margins, then you would want to put those in separate campaigns because they have different goals. But my personal opinion is a good ACoS is your break-even margin because you're exhausting all of it as much as you can to get sales. Everybody thinks good ACoS 10%, 20%, 15%. I'm more looking at what my total ACoS is and what my return is, because I want to continue to rank aggressively for my keywords. Because if I don't, my competitors are on it. Like people are on it now. Sellers are on it. They're on their PPC. So if I don't do that, if I'm not aggressive enough, I'm going to lose by ranking. So I'm going after break even because I want to continue to rank.
And then say someone were to be using Sellozo here, how often, like let's say I have your full service, how often can a seller expect Sellozo to actually be monitoring that account and those campaigns? How often would they make changes? And then do you tell sellers when you make changes and what those were? But just in the general monitoring and adjusting, what can sellers expect there?
Yeah, so it's a daily thing. Each rep will go through all their accounts every day and kind of just track them and see how things are doing, make simple adjustments. And when I say simple adjustments, it could be like increasing your target ACoS for a campaign or lowering the ACoS for a campaign. We have different bid strategies you can do inside the app as well. That could be a change. But every day a rep is going through all their accounts and just kind of monitoring, looking at them, see how things are going. And then every week, all that rep's accounts has a call with that rep to go over like things that they have changed, whether it be target ACoS or bid strategy. We will never increase your budget unless that is something that is discussed during your onboarding call. If you as a seller are comfortable with your rep as far as increasing budgets, that's great. But we will never touch your budget because we think that's more of a business decision. That's your decision. You're the seller. You know what you have to spend.
I suppose that's like, as you can set in the campaign manager, you can set an overall daily budget. So that's a type of thing a seller would set with you as well. And then as long as it's under that, you can make whatever changes you see fit.
Correct.
And then what about click-through rates, conversion rate? These are two things I find really interesting with PPC because we can get metrics that, can help us improve either of those. Is that something you help sellers with, is looking more at click-through rate, conversion rate?
So what's good about Sellozo is we don't have you come in and like make rules for all your campaigns. You don't have to make after 5 clicks, do this, make this a negative keyword after that. You don't have to make rules. We've already built in an algorithm. We've already got the algorithm built in. And click-through rate and clicks is one of the two things that we look at. Some of the two things we look at. There's other things that like product price is a factor that we look at within the campaign, because a $200 item and a $20 item, they're treated differently as far as how much you could spend on those before you start to get a sale. So we look at the price, the conversion rate, the click-through rate, clicks, and that's all built in within the algorithm. And then we will make adjustments based on those data points every day for you. If your click-through rate is low, it could be because the term you're going after is just not relative to the product. So that is something we track inside there. And we spend a lot of time with sellers going through their data for their campaigns on their onboarding call and on their managed call if they choose to do that. And that's all data we track inside there that they can see. But yeah, there's a lot of data inside. And to answer your question, we do look at those for sellers and give them suggestions.
And then lastly, what would be your biggest piece of advice for the sellers watching this? What would you if you could give them one piece of advice for Amazon PPC, what would that be?
Subscribe to Dan Rogers' YouTube channel and always watch all his videos.
Thank you. But for real, what would you say? I mean, I know you guys know a lot about this. I spoke to you and the team, and I can tell this is like, you guys do this all day. And we also know this is such a major challenge for sellers. It is a difficult thing, especially in the beginning when you're getting used to it. But what would you say the biggest thing is that you would recommend to someone new to this, starting PPC, something they can just keep in the back of their mind as they start this, as they create their campaigns?
Test, test, test. Always start testing, test at different types. Always see, like, change your images for your sponsored brand ads. Always continue to try new videos in your sponsored brand video ads. Go after different keywords. Know your keywords. Always make sure your listing is right. A poor listing is going to give you a poor performance on your ads. So, if your listing is not where you need it to be, if you haven't invested in good photos, if you haven't invested in good titles or bullets, or you don't have a video yet, or you need to get sponsored brands, or you need to get brand registry, those are all things that are going to help with your PPC. So for PPC, it's testing. For Amazon overall, it's make sure your listing's right, because that's your real estate. Look at your listing as like your office or your house. When people come over to your house, you want to make sure your house is spectacular clean, it's nice, your office is clean. That's what you want to treat your listing as. So always focus on improving your listing, and then always test for PPC.
I see a lot of sellers, they spend so much time designing the product with the manufacturer, and they make an amazing product. And then the listing just lets it all down because the customer can't see it. They can't see the physical inventory. They can't see any of that work you've done behind. So it's really important. Your listing has to be as good and should probably be better than, the product itself. It should really, really look great. So I totally agree with you. And that's like the first stepping stone. Then go into PPC, and I agree with you. Test, do different things. And I really like what you shared today as well. Some interesting stuff like the single word keyword campaign. So I'm also going to be testing some new stuff now. But Kris, I just want to say a huge thank you for coming on. I think you guys are doing an awesome job in the space. I've seen a lot of good reviews, heard a lot of good things. I know you guys are good dudes as well. And remember, you guys can get 20% off the service if you're interested. Just use the link below. But Kris, thank you so much for coming on. Anything else you want to say before we close up?
No, I appreciate you having me on. Appreciate the time. You do great work. You have great videos. Your YouTube channel is fantastic. So you're probably the few that are very transparent in Amazon space. So no, I have nothing else to say, but I want to say good stuff you put out. You got good content.
Thank you very much, Kris. I really appreciate that. We'll keep it coming. But awesome to have you on here. I think this splits up the content as well. It's not just me in the videos. I think it's going to be very, very cool to have some of the other people focused on helping sellers, specifically with services and things, especially if they specialized like you guys are. I really like that. Just having them come on, actually share with the audience straight up what they do. And I think it's beneficial for everyone. So thank you so much, Kris. I hope everyone enjoyed this one. Remember, like the video if you got value here, subscribe below, and I will see you in the next video.